Hey everybody, if you went to Oshkosh AirVenture last week, welcome home. If you didn't go, well, you missed one heck of a show. It was a record breaker. Now, EAA says some 650,000 pilots and aviation enthusiasts attended this year's show. Now, that beats the previous record set in pre-COVID 2019. That was about 642,000 folks. More than 10,000 aircraft flew into Whitman Regional Airport and the other nearby airports. More than 3,000 show planes, including a record number of vintage aircraft. The campgrounds were filled up. Now, there was a nasty storm just before the show began, but AirVenture itself enjoyed some of the best weather it has ever experienced in decades. Temperatures in the 70s and little rain, so what more could you ask for? Some anniversaries celebrated this year. The 75th anniversary of the U.S. Air Force meant a big turnout of a variety of aircraft from the inventory. From F-35s to the C-5, you couldn't miss the USAF at OSH. Also, the 15th anniversary of WomenVenture, with special programming to encourage and support women in aviation, marked, as always, by the group photo in Boeing Square. There were a lot of folks there. And it was notable that it seemed there were more women, and particularly young women there, than at previous shows. I think that bodes pretty well for our future. And this AirVenture was the last for one sitting senator who has done a lot for general aviation. Senator James Inhofe of Oklahoma will be retiring from the U.S. Senate, but I think it's safe to say that this really won't be his last AirVenture. The man loves aviation, and a lot of legislation that's been good for us has his name attached to it. Now, Senator Inhofe sat down with Mark Baker to talk a little bit about what's going on in aviation.
When I come here, it's always with 2 or 3 things that need to be done legislatively that you can save the whole system.
And you can see that full interview on our YouTube channel, and there's also an article in our flight training or in AOPA Pilot Magazine. There's a link for that as well. And if you like fly-in events like AirVenture, we have 3 upcoming fly-ins. Well, now our shows aren't huge like AirVenture. They're a bit more intimate, with thousands of your closest friends rather than hundreds of thousands. These events offer a mix of fun, food, learning, and a chance to renew old friendships and forge new ones. And we think they are a chance to escape back to the grassroots of general aviation flying. In fact, we've renamed our fly-ins. We call them Hangouts now to better capture the spirit of these new events. Now, we have 2 scheduled this year, September 9th and 10th at Phelps Field in Spokane, Washington. And then November 4th and 5th at Tampa Executive Airport. There's more info at the link in the description. And if you're looking to learn about the latest in aviation, including avionics and cockpit technology, you'll want to go to the AOPA Aviator Showcase November 17th and 18th in Fort Worth at Alliance Airport. As I say before, more information in the description. King Schools have announced that they are supporting AOPA's high school aviation STEM curriculum. They will offer discounts to students at participating high schools. Students can buy the King You Can Fly kit, for example, for $99. Now, the kit includes private ground school and test prep courses, and it's normally priced at $328. And you can save a bit of money if you're flying to Canada, at least for the moment. Thanks to AOPA and a coalition of industry types, you're getting a bit of a reprieve. Now, like the U.S., Canada is implementing an ADS-B mandate, but there's a crucial difference. Canada uses a space-based system. U.S. ADS-B transceivers are on the ground. So what works here won't work there. Most aircraft owners will have to install an additional antenna that can see the satellites, and Canada only uses the 1090 extended squitter transponders, so the UAT units that are installed in about a third of the U.S. fleet won't work up north. But I said earlier that something about a reprieve. Well, AOPA and others lobbied Transport Canada to push back the start date of their ADS-B mandates because of the expense, already on top of the expense of installing for the U.S., and there's also a shortage of equipment. And Transport Canada agreed. So now you have until August to equip to fly in Class Alpha airspace and until next May for Class Bravo. Now here's another bit of money savings for aircraft owners. Aspen Avionics announced at AirVenture that you no longer will need a mechanical backup gyro when you fly behind the Aspen Evolution primary flight display. Now the FAA allowed the change because years of data proves that the electronic displays are much more reliable than mechanical attitude indicators or turn coordinators that previously were required as a backup for the electronic displays. So you can get rid of all that old stuff. Well, do you have a private strip with no AWOS? Are you tired of trying to infer what the weather is going to be from a station miles away? Well, there's a solution for that. Say Weather is an automated weather advisory system. Now it uses high-end set of weather sensors and integrates it with a transmitter. You just key up on the traffic frequency 4 times and it reads the current observation to you over the radio.
We send an airport out a Davis weather station. It's solar powered. It's got a battery backup good for 2 or 3 years. It's wireless up to 1,000 feet line of sight back to the console. And the console could be in an airport's FBO, could be in an airport's hangar, somebody's living room. We take the information from the weather station off that console and we run it through our Say Weather box. This is our brain that we've developed. We make some calculations in there and do a couple other things. And then we push the information out of VHF radio.
Now, if there's internet at the site, the station will uplink the data to Weather Underground and ForeFlight, so you can view your strip's weather from anywhere. The base system will tell you winds, temps, humidity, and altimeter settings, but there's an option for ceilings and visibilities as well. And another neat find in the hangars at Oshkosh. American Additive Manufacturing is a high-quality 3D printing firm, and they are working with aviation-grade materials to print on demand. They specialize in parts, prototypes, and tooling, but you can make just about anything you can imagine. They think the possibilities in the experimental amateur-built world are pretty much endless.
We can reverse engineer or laser scan a part and then reverse engineer a CAD model from that, and then from that we can 3D print the part. Another thing we can print is composite layup tooling. So this is a mold or tool used by customers to wrap their composite material around. Then they can in this case they can autoclave this material to form their final geometry for, in this case, the carbon fiber headrest.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
So when I'm working, flying an airline jet, I use Bose ProFlight. The ProFlight changed the comfort level. It's so light I never take it off my head.
Welcome back. A big issue at Oshkosh was the transition to unleaded avgas. It's pretty confusing to a lot of folks. Well, last week Mark recorded this quick explainer for social media, and we thought it'd be helpful to repeat it.
Hi, I'm Mark Baker, the president of AOPA. I'm here to talk a little bit about avgas today. Many of you might not know that we've been using a small amount of lead in our avgas for almost 100 years. And we agree it's time to move away from low lead fuel that exists today to a no lead fuel for all of our aircraft. What it means is getting the right science, the right chemistry to make sure that it fits in all of these airplanes, over 200,000 airplanes, having been built for over 100 years, to make sure that it fits, works, and is a safe transition away from low lead fuel. It's going to happen.
And if you want to get more immersed in the details, you can watch the Avgas forum at AirVenture and see our Avgas section on the website. Links are in the description. Meanwhile, Continental pledged to increase research and development by some 250% to focus on current engines and testing to get their lower-powered engines certified to run on the existing UL 9194 unleaded fuels. Now, that includes select O200s, IO360s, O470s, and IO470s. Now, talk about a stinky fuel. NASA is looking at ammonia as an alternative jet fuel. Researchers think that ammonia could be part of the solution for a net zero emission flight. Ammonia is a compound of nitrogen and hydrogen, and it would be a lot easier to store on board an aircraft than liquid hydrogen. And an Australian company says it plans to have a Falcon 50 business jet flying on ammonia by the middle of next year. And yet another car company is getting into the eVTOL business. Volkswagen joins Toyota, Suzuki, Fiat Chrysler, Hyundai, and Honda in trying for a piece of the electric vertical takeoff market. Now, Volkswagen's Chinese subsidiary is developing a 4-passenger eVTOL that the company says will be able to fly up to 125 miles. They see their first customers as wealthy Chinese looking for VIP air shuttle services. And finally, returning back to Oshkosh, we really enjoyed connecting with so many of you at AirVenture. You know, the AOPA campus was busy with activities most of the week, and one of the hot spots was the night air show social at the 39er Lounge. So we'll leave you with some of the sights and sounds from that event, and we hope you'll tune in next week.
I'm a full-time filmmaker, and I integrate a lot of flying in with that and primarily produce film and videos around aviation. So I've got about 1,700 hours, about maybe 300 or 400 of that is dual given. My ratings are commercial, airplane, single engine land, and then I'm a CFII and just recently got my tailwheel. So I use SiriusXM weather hands down all the time on ForeFlight. We were doing performance testing off the coast of Florida, and we needed unrestricted climbs with no clouds above us, and we needed unrestricted descents, no clouds below us. And we actually used the cloud layer that SiriusXM feeds to the iPad, and it was shockingly accurate. I really tend to gravitate toward using SiriusXM in the cockpit because of the resolution of data that it's providing me. I mean, when I'm looking at NEXRAD or weather on the horizon or satellite cloud layers, anything like that, the resolution of the image that it's giving me is so much higher and so much more frequent than ADS-B, especially when you're operating in an IFR environment.